Hi, welcome back. Our previous lesson was on information we can get from demand functions. Today we'll be moving on to income and substitution effects. We have argued so far that if the price of a commodity goes up, then the quantity demanded will go down, holding all other factors constant. This led us to the law of demand. This law usually shows the final effect of what happens to demand when price changes. However, there are some intermediate steps involved in this process. So let's consider a consumer named Ella who consumes good X and a composite of other goods and has an income of I to buy these goods. We will represent the price of good X as PX and the price of all other goods as £1 per unit. Given this information, we can represent Ella's budget constraint as B1 on this figure here. We know that if the price of good X rises from PX to PX prime, Ella's budget constraint will pivot from B1 to B2. Now, this increase in price has two consequences. The first consequence is that it makes good X more expensive and may lead Ella to buy less of good X and more of other goods. So this is what we call the substitution effect. The substitution effect of a price increase is the effect on quantity demanded due exclusively to the fact that the relative price has changed. In simple terms, it is just substituting one good for another because of a change in the relative price. The second consequence of the price change is that for any given amount of good X that Ella chooses to buy, she now has less money to spend on all other goods because the price of good X has increased. Now, this simply means that because the price of good X has increased without a change in Ella's income, it has reduced her real income, or what we call the purchasing power, and has made her poorer. This is what we call the income effect. The income effect of a price increase is therefore the effect on quantity demanded due exclusively to the fact that the consumer's real income has fallen. So given the substitution and the income effect, the net effect of a price change depends on the sum of the substitution and the income effect. So it can be a decrease or an increase in demand after a price change, depending on the sign of income and substitution effect and which one of these two effects dominate. And we'll be looking at this in our subsequent lessons. So this is all that we have on our introduction lesson on income and substitution effect. The next lesson will be graphical representation of these two effects, where we'll be focusing on normal goods. If you enjoyed today's lesson, consider subscribing. Thank you.